everyone, welcome back to the Library of Parthos. My name is Sarah and I finally finished one book off of my TBR. It's a great start to January, and that was The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrews. Oh my gosh, I love this book. This was fantastic. Another hard to put down, couldn't focus on adulting. I just needed to finish the book. If you are looking for something with dark academia vibes, this is the book for you. So I'll get into a short summary and then I'll get into spoilers. I'll try to keep the summary as spoiler free as I can. So this is a story of Delaney. She is a college age student who is deaf, and she is enrolled at a new university. We also have Colton Price, who is one of the TAs at the university, and everyone tells him to stay away from Delaney. And as the story goes on, you find out exactly why, but it is the story almost enemies to lovers. I know I classified it as that on my TBR list. Not quite sure if it falls into that category, but it's pretty close. And they are keeping secrets from each other and trying to find the answers to those secrets, which are pointing to a larger mystery at the school. I feel like that's as much as I can go into without giving any spoilers away, so I'm gonna get into my thoughts on the story and of course some spoilers for the book. So if you plan on reading it and don't want anything to be ruined, feel free to skip to the end of the video. Our two main characters, Delaney and Colton, are at this almost supernatural kind of school, I guess, paranormal. I'm not quite sure the right word to use, but all of the students there have had a brush with death of some kind, and that enables them to kind of walk between dimensions or in different worlds because of this brush with death. So Delaney, when she was very young, she got extremely sick and I think flatlined in the hospital, and that was when she lost her hearing. So that was her brush with death. Colton drowned in a pond along with his older brother, and when he came up out of the pond, it was because Delaney as a young girl was calling to him. And so we get to see the story from both of their perspectives now when they are in college together. Delaney doesn't remember Colton. He's just kind of the jerk TA that she accidentally spilled coffee on the first day and is trying to make up for it, and he's not really accepting her apology. And he, on the other hand, is oh, everyone said to stay away from Delaney. She's here. I remember her. She's the one that called me out of being dead. Essentially, she's the reason I'm not dead. I don't know how I'm gonna stay away from her when I'm supposed to. So that's kind of the two perspectives that we get throughout this story. Colton is involved in, he says it's not a cult, but it's kind of a cult. This group of students who are searching for immortality. And where the story begins, you find out that at least two of them, one or two of them, I believe, have passed away. And they're kind of being led by somebody named the Apostle, and this kind of ghost that is kind of haunting him, essentially, is how it's kind of portrayed at the beginning. So here's where it's kind of the enemies to lovers thing. Delaney and Colton are not supposed to be anywhere near each other. He was told specifically to stay away from her, and he can't because she's the reason he's still alive. And she is just trying to get some answers from him. She becomes kind of unintentionally involved with these boys who are seeking immortality with the Apostle. And she just wants answers. Why are these horrible things happening to these people? Again, all of the students at this university have had a brush with death, so there's something kind of off about all of them. So one of Delaney's roommates, Mackenzie, I think they're roommates or maybe they're just friends. They live in the same floor, I believe. Mackenzie can kind of see the future, and Delaney can hear the shadows. So Delaney, she has been treated like she's made of glass her whole life, is how she kind of describes it. When she graduated from high school, she really wanted to have a normal college experience. So she took some entrance exams and she got accepted to Howell University, I think it's called the Godbowl program. She was the perfect student. She color-coded all of her schedules and all of her notes and everything. She emailed all of the professors and TAs over the summer explaining that she is deaf, that she has a cochlear implant, and finds that even with all of her preparation, all of her diligence in doing all of those things, she's still struggling and not passing her classes. She doesn't want to fail. Eventually, Colton Price agrees to help her. And they do get into a little bit of trouble with Professor Whitehall. He's the class that Colton is the TA of, and he explains to Delaney, once again, don't go anywhere near Colton Price. He's bad news. And also, you know, you're a great student. You don't want to cheat. That's going to get you kicked out, and nobody wants that. So Colton and Delaney, of course, become closer and closer. They eventually end up in a relationship, and you find out that, essentially when they're like walking between universes or whatever it is that they're doing, they're going through hell, and they explain that when the door was initially opened, something came back with them. And so you start to find out that the shadows that are talking aren't really shadows. They're actually ghosts that Delaney's able to hear. And you find out that this group of boys who have been seeking immortality have been seeking this creature, and they say like it doesn't have a name. It's like older than time itself, all this, you know, mysterious stuff. And they're trying to kind of inhabit a body, so they want this like being to like live in their bodies with them, but it's not working. And so that's why these boys are dying. They're getting, literally they're being ripped apart. And then you find out that Delaney has had one of these inside her this entire time, so she's essentially immortal, and all of these people have been dying to try to figure this out. So Colton realizes that, and he doesn't want to tell the apostle because he knows that he's going to do some horrible things to Delaney once he finds out, to kind of see how she has managed to survive so long with this thing inside of her. You then find out, of course, I was not at all surprised by this detail, that Professor Whitehall is the apostle who has been seeking the cure for mortality, the cure for illness, and finds it in Delaney. So eventually Professor Whitehall / the apostle kidnaps Delaney, and he, you know, they're finally like confronting each other, like, I can't believe you would do this, like, how could you let all those boys die, like typical stuff, you know. So then you find out that Colton isn't fully human anymore. And he'd said multiple times throughout the story, like, I dug my way out of the grave to get to you. He said that to Delaney. The shadows have said, like, he's not fully human anymore. I think one of them called him halfling or something like that. So you find out that he like made a deal so that he could return to the world of the living. So this is all toward the end of the story, of course. And it was at this point that a lot of like similarities to Hades and Persephone started to kind of come up. And I am a huge fan of Hades and Persephone. So of course I had no complaints about that. I was all on board. All of the references to the Elysian Field and all of that stuff. It was great. I was a huge fan of that. So basically at the end of the story, the thing living inside Delaney says, like, I don't want to hurt you, but this isn't going to work for very much longer. Like, it's time for me to go. The door's open. I kind of have to kill you. That's the only way I can get out. So of course, she makes a deal so that she can come back with Colton, and so they are able to be with each other at the end. So definitely, I think it was described as like a paranormal mystery / romance, and I definitely think it held up to that genre. A lot of similarities to Gallant, which I absolutely loved. I do have a review of that as well. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I enjoyed the story so much, was because of those similarities in characters and the structure of the story. And of course the romance was a win for me. It was a dark story, but it wasn't too dark. It also kind of reminded me of The Devil Makes Three, which was another story that I read in October. right around spooky season. So, so glad I read this book. Highly recommend if you haven't checked it out. If you have, please let me know what your thoughts are. And if you haven't read it yet and you're planning on it, please let me know. I'd love to hear when you're finished with it, if you enjoyed the book. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.